Hey everybody, welcome back to Xpert Skin. Today's video, we are going to be doing a very hairy back wax. So get ready. Let's talk about the tools you're going to need today. I grab a big stack of strips, a big handful of sticks, gloves, scissors, trimmer, electric trimmers, and I also use a little comb too. I am going to play this video on a faster speed. Otherwise, you would be watching this for about an hour. But I condensed it down so you can kind of see a fast version of a back wax. As always, we're going to trim the hair if it is too long. And you may have to go back in with scissors, but you also want to trim, always want to trim the hair, and you always want to check the hair growth pattern, especially for a back wax. If you don't, you're going to have a ton of broken hairs and you're going to have a very unhappy client, and it's going to cause the client a lot of pain as well. So as you can see, I started towards the side of him and moved my way in because his hair growth pattern starts on the side, grows up and towards the spine. So every single person is going to have a different waxing pattern for their hair or a hair growth pattern. So you always want to follow it. It's so important to follow it. It'll make your job so much easier. And we've come up to an area soon where the hair does not come up for me because the hair is too long and I have to trim it a little bit more. But as you can see, these sections are just not coming up for me, and it's because the hair is too thick. So what you're going to do in this instance is you're going to apply a thin layer of wax on that clump again, and it's going to press, and it's going to come up easily. Don't think you're stuck. Just put a little bit on there, a little bit of more wax, and it should come up just fine. But here it starts to get pretty long again, so I am going to take the scissors to it again, and just kind of fine tune it a little bit to make my life easier and to make the client have a more enjoyable experience. So we're going to trim, and then I'm going to finish waxing that shoulder, leaving the arm hairy, essentially. He did not want his arms done. So let's move on to the other side. You guys get the gist of how we're going to do this here. And then I'm going to start with, of course, trimming to get the hair nice and a good length for me. You want it to be long, but you don't want it to be too long because it'll come up. It'll pull on the other hairs. And I'll clean the hair up a little bit just because who wants to lay in their hair trimmings, right? It starts to itch. I'm going to powder a little bit just to make sure the hair is dry and the back is dry. Some people do start to sweat, and that will hinder your wax, especially when they're in pain. If you can tell by the video, he is breathing heavily because it is painful. This is a speed waxing technique where you apply large chunks of wax to an area and then you quickly remove that area. I do not do the entire back with wax and then do it. I do it in small chunks. I know other speed waxing will tell you to do it, like cover the entire back, but the wax gets really cold and it's not as pliable and it doesn't come up as easily. And it can also really irritate the skin when you leave the wax on too long, you know. So I do small chunks at a time. It still is fast and effective and gets the job done. This area is a little swirly, so you're going to see me do small little chunks in this little section because I am following the hair growth and finding little areas of touch up that I need to do as well. And sometimes if I work an area for a long time, I may stop and take a quick break, like work another area and let that part like kind of get numb. You see me following the hair growth pattern there. And make sure you press nicely on the skin afterwards because this is a painful experience for the client. He was such a good sport. It looks fast on the video, but trust me, it took about an hour or so when the hair is that long. And that's even being as fast and as experienced as I am. It will take you an hour. So don't go into the room thinking, "Oh, I'll be done in 30 minutes." That will be somebody who's not very hairy. But somebody who has a lot of back hair, you're going to find that you're going to need that hour, you know. Especially since, you know, you got to be kind to the client, you got to check in with them, make sure they're feeling okay, let them have a couple breathers, you know, all that fun stuff. And you see I'm getting a lot, really good chunks of hair on my wax strip each and every time. And that's essentially what you do want, is big chunks of wax or big chunks of hair removed at the same time, fluidly. I always like to ask the client how much of the neck they want done. A lot of times with the male clients, they already receive their neck gets shaved or trimmed when they get their hair cut by their hairstylist. But because they're seeing me and I'll notice that the hairs are long, I will offer to wax them, or I will just kind of wax them. Otherwise, they'll have a hairy neck and a smooth back, and it doesn't look very good, right? So I will kind of touch that up as well. And here I am just going to touch up little areas, spot wax essentially. And now that his skin has recovered a little bit, I can spot wax. I can also use the strip that has wax on it to place down on the hairs, and it will remove some of those hairs. Don't think you have to apply more wax. You could actually just use your wax strip and it comes up just fine. You know, the hair will adhere to the wax and you don't need it. Sometimes if I want to thin out the shoulders because they're just doing a back wax, but their shoulders are very hairy, I will take a strip that has a lot of wax on it and pat it onto the hairy part of their arm and press and release, you know, to get that removal. So here we are just touching up, and I'm really just trying to straighten up the shoulders so it's even. Sometimes I do have to have my male client stand up so I can look at their shoulders and see how much more to remove, because sometimes laying on the table I don't get a good angle or a good visual, you know. So don't be afraid to ask your client to stand up so you can finish the service, because you don't want them to look, you know, uneven when they're wearing a tank top or when they take their shirt off or whatnot, right? This is also an expensive treatment. If you were to get this done at a professional day spa, this would be $100 plus, maybe $150 treatment to get a full back wax done, just because of the amount of time and product you have to use to remove that much hair off of somebody. You use a lot of sticks, a lot of wax, a lot of strips. I used almost a quarter can of wax on him, a little bit more than half a can of wax. So it goes pretty fast. So let's check out a before. Look how hairy that was. And an after. Voila. Look how clean and smooth that is. If you guys are waxing in your spa and you've had a really hairy back wax, leave it in the comments below. I'd love to hear your story. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.